Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. It's approximately 8 days since my last confession. Did you ever see this shit? A girl showed me this in Plovdiv, and it talks a great load of bollocks until I found it actually works. It stops the can frothing up, but it works fucking great. So once I actually found it works perfectly. I do it all the time. I think it's a fucking great tip. These are the things people need to know about. Did you know that the Kama Sutra is part of the Hindu scriptures, the ancient Hindu scriptures? I never knew this, and I tell you the truth, when I found out this, it's after opening up a whole new interest in Hinduism. Because when it's all said and done, you think you know it all, and then you realise that you can't learn what you think you already know. So I have a renewed interest in Hinduism. Yeah, and I find that I had a misconception about Hinduism. I had a misconception about Hinduism because I used to say they're passive fatalists. They're passive fatalists. I can't stand that passive fatalist sit on your bollocks and wait for life shit. Do you know what I mean? I can't stand that passive fatalism, waiting for life. Live immediately. Live immediately. That's what I always say. Live immediately. And I was blaming the Hindus. I was blaming the Hindus for the child system. I was saying for the caste system. I changed. I read it wrong, but for the caste system, I'm blaming for the Hindus for the caste system. I said that's the Hindus' fault. Sitting on their fucking arse. Siva said this is the same as the Christians, embracing poverty, piety, and chastity. And I said to myself, here, hold the fuck on. But then I realised, that no, it's a complete misconception in regard to Hinduism. But I'm not going to hold anybody responsible. I'm going to hold myself responsible for the misconception because I didn't make enough effort to establish the facts. But then again, I did. Because I stayed rooted, I stayed interviewing the Hindus here. And I learned that they're not passive fatalism at all. This is a misconception that's been propagated by the weak. And it's the weak who don't understand Hinduism and don't understand the texts and aren't making the effort to read. They're not making the effort to read fuck all. All they're doing is clinging to a narrative that accommodates their inclinations. So basically this is the hierarchy of the weak again, imposing their projections onto the texts, interpreting the texts according to their values and according to their morality, and then propagating that misconception to others, which others are clinging to because of their inclinations in regard and their values and their morality. So the whole thing is a complete misconception, making absolutely no effort to actually understand the scriptures. Do you understand what I'm saying? But really, it's not passive fatalism at all. It's not passive fatalism at all. And they have as good an understanding of nature, I was going to say as I do, but it's possibly a little bit better. But what I couldn't understand is how can a religion be 5,000 years old and not understand nature? Do you understand what I'm saying? And then I realised that they do understand nature. But as a Hindu was telling me there the other night, that their current leader, or whatever you call him, maybe the Prime Minister or whatever you call him, I don't know what you call him in India, but their leader at the moment is propagating the misconception of passive fatalism and this fucking weak morality or weakness masquerading as morality in relation to the Hindus and an acceptance of this American imperialism. I said to him, but if they have such a good understanding of nature, how come that it's not serving them as well as Stoicism is serving me? How come they haven't flourished? And he says, we're being fucking invaded every fucking 100 years. We're being invaded. Everyone wants a fucking piece of India. And I says, aye. And he says, and not only that, we're invaded by Muslims. And he said, they nearly have taken control of a lot of things, and an awful lot of fucking Christians have taken control in India. So we've Muslims and Christians, the weak. And of course we have the British Empire to thank, who completely oppressed them to serve their own fucking selfish interests. You know, again, they made slaves out of them, but now as we have with China and America, a complete inversion of the hierarchies. Sure, India is now ruling England. They are. India is now ruling England, if you think about it. They are. So, which is a complete inversion of the hierarchies. And now Hinduism can come into play, and if they practice the Hinduism, we can fucking break the chains that's enslaving them at the moment. Because I asked him what's the crack with India at the moment, and he said, oh, it's the same as any high street store in every city in India now. He said it's the same as any European high street. You have all the usual shit. And I said, get away. I said, subject to American and European imperialism. And he said, oh yeah, all the Zaras and all that. He said, and I said, fucking hell. I says, you know what I mean? Now, the only thing that's going to break out from this is Hinduism. But that's when you actually understand the Hinduism. Or maybe, like, well, as I understand the Stoicism. But I find they're not too far apart. They're not too far apart. But as I say, I'm fairly well versed in Stoicism at this stage. And I'm just taking a revised look at renewed interest in Hinduism, as I said. Yeah. And then I was blaming the Hindus for the caste system, you know. But I was having a drink with a few drinks there with an Indian girl a couple of nights ago. And she says to me, what age are you? And I could nearly see her doing the maths, you know. She's doing the maths to calculate how long more I'd last and what my potential is, you know. Or if I'd any money. I said 50. And she could see her doing the maths. Like I said to her 50, you could see her doing the maths. But the truth is that not one of us are entitled to so much as another minute on this planet. We're not entitled to so much as another minute on this planet. And that's important. You needn't bother doing your fucking maths to see how long more I last. You know what I mean? You might not last another fucking minute. You might be dead 5 minutes. That's you know, you want to be... But of course, yeah, but I suppose there has to be a certain amount of rationality into it. But if you want to put rationality into it, I'll tell you now, I said to her, love her money. And she said, oh, money all day. I said, fair enough. I said, you're looking at me. I said, what's your outlet paying? I said, what's the dowry? What's your outlet paying? And then it clicked to me. It's not the Hindus who's responsible for the caste system at all. It's culture. It's this fucking love of money. The golden calf, like the Jews and everything else. Hinduism, again, the answer to the caste system. It's not the cause of the caste system. Hinduism is the answer to the caste system. Start looking at people's potential and start fucking... People have to start focusing on their own shit. Focus on what is in your control. Because if you want to determine the nature of change, you have to focus on what is in your control. And I keep stressing this. But while you keep trying to focus on what is not within your control, you haven't got a hope of determining the nature of change. Then you can sit back and just accept the way of the world. Oh, look there. Shiva said this is the way she... Shiva didn't say any such fucking thing. Ask Kali what Kali said. Yeah. And then I was going to blame the Don of Stoicism. I was going to make allegations against him for doing the same shit, for propagating Stoicism as a passive fatalism, because he put out this quote, you know, that the past and the future are indifferent and all that matters is the present moment. And I said, oh Jesus, now here we go with this bullshit again. And then I was out the other night with a chap, you know. We're out having a few drinks, we're out having a bit of a crack. He's potentially my new apprentice, but I was trying to recruit him for my sect. I felt a little like Charles Manson. I was saying that to him, I'm beginning to feel a little like Charles Manson. But I was saying to him, I'm beginning to feel a little like Charles Manson. But as I was saying to him, he started to stress about this, that, the other, you know, things, you know, what if, and I said, here, how the fuck on? How the fuck on? Just relax into your role, I said. Just to relax into your role. Things will go as they must. You have to remember that. Things will go as they must. Despite you shitting your pants or anything else, things will go as they must. Just relax into your role. And then you can start to fucking think, and you can start focusing exactly on what is within your control. But if you're focusing on the past and the future and everything else, you can't focus on what is within your control. The present moment is the driving seat for life. And then, of course, my soul says to me, da. Then it clicked me, we live in a paradoxical universe, and even though it seems completely contradictory, we live in a paradoxical universe, and if you have an understanding of nature, you have to be able to see both perspectives simultaneously. And then I was going to accuse the Don of doing what the weak have done and creating a concept of Marcus Aurelius that's far removed from the fucking truth. That's far removed from the truth. A concept of Marcus Aurelius, holier than thou, holier thou. You nearly like you took Christ down from the cross. And I said, nearly like you took Christ down from the cross. And I said, the man's a warmonger. The man's a warmonger. He was never anything else. A pure warmonger. Any man that spent 19 years on the front line, 19 years of a reign on the front line, is a fucking warmonger. And nothing else. But then I got to thinking and I said to myself, what the fuck was an emperor doing on the front line anyway? Like my soul's always saying to me, stay off the front line, stay off the front line. We don't put generals on the front line. And I sit and think about this, and I says, why does he always have to tell me, stay off the front line? He has to keep reiterating this, because I won't stay off the front line. I have a choice in this, but it's up to each to establish their own values. And I tell you the truth, any man that would ask any man to do anything that he wouldn't do himself, in my book, is a fucking coward. A coward. And if you're a coward, you'll do very little if you're a fucking coward. You didn't see Julius Caesar on the front line. You didn't see Julius Caesar sitting in a palace directing everybody. You didn't see Pompey. You didn't see fucking Alexander. And you most certainly didn't see Marcus Aurelius sitting in a palace living it up while the boys were getting out on the front line. No. This is a choice. So regardless of how much my soul says to me, stay off the front line, I have a choice in this regard. And I say, only a coward would do that. Ask anyone to do anything that he wouldn't do himself. And I had to think about this because I had to think well, he kept sabotaging every fucking effort I made. And every time he sabotaged my effort, he kept saying, stay off the front line. Didn't I tell you stay off the front line? But I won't stay off the front line. But we'll see how we go. But do you understand what I'm saying? It's up to each to establish their own values. That's the point I'm trying to make. And that's why the past and the present don't become preferred indifference. Because when it comes to establishing your values and defining your morality, you have to take into account the past and the future. Because you have to rethink the past, change your perceptions on it, and then align your values and your morality to what's conducive to the fucking goal. Do you understand me? And that's to be able to utilise the philosophy, being able to see both perspectives simultaneously. Life is determined. Determinism and free will coexist in the universe. They run simultaneously. Now, is there something else I have to say? Yeah, one more thing in relation to Hinduism. Now, sometimes when you read the Bhagavad Gita, you think you're a Hindu, but as I learned from speaking to the Hindus, you're barely scratching the surface, and that's why you say when people talk to me about Stoicism, I say, you're barely scratching the surface, mate. You know. But everything is deeper than it appears on the surface, infinitely deeper. But I will take one thing from the Bhagavad Gita. It starts with a war. Where Ariwana, this is Ariwana. I don't particularly like this beer, but whenever I see someone bringing on this beer, they say, oh, I have to buy that piss. But at the same time, as my soul said to me, it doesn't matter what you like. It doesn't matter what you like. But I tell you the truth, I drink boot polish, so I'm grateful for any liquor I have. But where was it? Yeah, so Krishna said to Ariwana, Ariwana was having a conflict of values and defining his morality. And as Krishna said to Ariwana, this is the start of Bhagavad Gita, and as Krishna said to Ariwana, nobody's born and nobody dies, more or less. But that's my spin. That's actually Parmenides. But I'm paraphrasing Krishna here. But he said, get your shit together. If your role is to be a warrior and be the absolute best warrior you can be. Strive for excellence in everything you do. And everything else is a preferred indifferent. Now, we'll finish on that. Good morning. Do you like my new office? I didn't really like the acoustics in the last office, but I'm hot desking this one. I'll talk to you in a bit. Mind yourselves. Bye.